What's up guys, it's Cody. Remember that video from a couple of months ago that I posted here on the channel that was talking about how I was going to buy real estate and actually have it produce enough income to cover my monthly payment on a Tesla? Well, that has happened. Let's talk about it. In that video, I talked about how I was going to buy some form of real estate that was going to produce enough monthly cash flow to actually cover the payment on my Tesla. And that is what's happening, but I did things a little bit backwards. I bought the Tesla first, and I've been enjoying that, but I do have a piece of real estate under contract that is going to cover the payment that I have on that car. First, let's talk a little bit about the car because it's freaking awesome and I want to share it with you guys, and then we'll jump into the real estate deal. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the deal itself, the pitfalls that we've run into so far, what to expect as we move forward, and just share a little bit of the numbers about the deal as well. So make sure to stay tuned for that. So guys, the Tesla is a freaking awesome car. I ended up getting the Model Y and I absolutely love it. I was never one of those guys who was into the Teslas at first. You know, I always thought, hey, they're cool, but they're kind of this luxury supercar, not quite sure about the electricness of it, and never really got into it. But then my brother got one and he said, look, this is the most amazing car I've ever driven. It's been absolutely life-changing as far as cars go, and he said he couldn't love it any more than he does. So I started looking into it. I test drove his car, looked around. The Model Y had just gotten released as I started looking into this, and I said, hey, that's a better family car for my wife and for my kid. I think I'm gonna go that route. And that's what I ended up doing. I got the Model Y, got the Performance Edition because I needed it to be fast. I was tired of driving my old Volkswagen Jetta that was slow as hell. So I decided to go into the Model Y with the Performance, and man, this thing is fast. It's quiet, it's efficient. I love the simplistic view of it. It's absolutely beautiful all the way around. We're gonna do some little modifications to it, so I'll keep you guys updated on that. If you're interested in it, drop a comment below if you'd like to see more content on the car itself. But this car is just awesome. You know, I don't want to sound like one of those fanboys that's you know, they're all over here on YouTube, but the car really is cool, and I think with the decreasing costs that these Teslas are seeing, you know, I think it's going to become a more affordable car for many people to have, and it's just a different, enjoyable experience compared to a normal car. And the cool thing is it gets better over time. So super happy with the purchase. We did end up getting a loan on it, and we're going to talk a little bit about the real estate and how that actually plays into my decision to get this car, how we structured it so that it wouldn't affect me, and what I'm going to do to be able to cover that payment with this cash flow from the real estate purchase. So like I said, don't worry, I still got the real estate that's going to be able to pay for this Tesla. Let's talk a little bit about this duplex that I have under contract. Now this duplex, I actually originally made an offer on it a couple of months ago and lost out on it. Unfortunately, there was multiple offers in this situation. The seller ended up going with a cash buyer who was moving some money from a 1031 exchange into this property, and decided to go with you know, that buyer because it was cash, there was no contingencies, it was going to be a straightforward close. Well, fast forward a couple weeks, the seller's agent calls me back, says, hey, this deal just fell through. The 1031, they had problems with it. The other property they were selling didn't end up going through, and they don't have the funds to close on this purchase. Are you still interested? I said, yeah, let me run the numbers again. I think the price that I offered before was as high as I'm willing to go. Let me double check it, see if it still makes sense for me, and then I'll submit another offer for you guys if I am interested. So I looked at the numbers, they did make sense. I verified everything. I said, hey, what's the rents? Who's paying the utilities? What are the taxes? What is my insurance? I looked at all of the numbers up front before making an offer because I want to know that the numbers that I'm looking at are going to be the actual numbers once I close on the property. So I did end up making the same offer. I said, hey, I'll make that same exact offer I made, but I cannot go any higher or else it just doesn't make sense to me. So we jumped into it. They had a couple other offers again, and actually my offer that I submitted wasn't the highest price, but the agent called me back and he said, look, you're a real estate agent, you're the buyer, you've got the best terms. If you're willing to do a little bit of non-refundable earnest money after the inspection and you're willing to increase the deposit, you've got a deal. So I said, okay, I can do that. I feel good. If I'm going to do the inspection, I know that the financing is secure. If I get through the inspection phase, I know I'm going to close on the house so long as nothing major comes up and you know, forces me out of the deal. So I said, okay, you've got a deal. So I wasn't even the highest priced offer, but the seller's agent and the seller knew that I was the go-to person to be able to close out this deal. If anybody was going to do it, it was sure to be me, and they had better confidence in myself than in the other offers, the other buyers that they had for this deal. The other cool thing we do with the Tesla is we actually financed it into my wife's name. So she's been working for the past couple of months. She's got all of the car loans in her name. And so when the bank looks at my credit, they don't see any debt on there except for the mortgages that we already have on these other investment properties. Now, it doesn't really matter whether my wife or myself makes the payments on the car, but as far as what's on paper, the bank really cares about where that debt's located. And it's located in her name, which frees up my financial profile to be able to qualify for more real estate. That's definitely what I'd recommend. If you have somebody in your family who's making more money, perhaps move all the debt over to the other person who's making less. You know, if you've got car loans or credit card debt or anything like that, try to move it over to the person who's making less money, take it out of the name of the person who's making more money, and then put the real estate into that person's name, and you should be able to get qualified for more money. So jumping back to the offer that I made on this duplex, like I said, I made a higher deposit. It was a $10,000 deposit, which isn't anything crazy, but it is more than what's common in our market. So the sellers were super happy about that. And I said, hey, I'm gonna make $2,500 non-refundable after the inspection period. So if my financing falls through or the appraisal doesn't come in and you're not willing to work with me there, we are going to forfeit $2,500 of that deposit to you. If I end up backing out. If I close on the deal, no worries, it just goes towards my down payment. So I was comfortable with that, and it's what solidified the deal for me. So let's talk a little bit about the duplex itself. It's located in probably what I would call a C+ neighborhood. It's not the best neighborhood, but it is up and coming. It's going through a lot of turnover right now, and I won't be surprised if it's a B- or even maybe a B neighborhood within the next 10 years or so. So it is in a part of town that's not the nicest. It is in a neighborhood full of other duplexes, which generally just means it's full of renters who generally don't care about the property as much as somebody who owns the property would. So it does feel a little bit run down when you're in there, but all the people in there are super nice. I talked to a couple of the neighbors, I talked to the tenants there, and they like living there, and it's gonna be a great fit. This property is actually just down the street from another home that I own. It was actually the first home that I ever bought that is now a rental of mine, and I still own it. So this property is just barely down the street. I know the area well because I lived there for about an hour and a half, so I'm comfortable with the area. It's close to shopping, it's close to the freeway, and there's a ton of activity going in, so it should be pretty easy to get that place rented and keep it rented for the long term. The other thing that I like about it is it's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and both sides have laundry, and the utilities are split because it's a full legal duplex. A lot of my other properties don't have split utilities, and not all of the units have laundry in the units. So it does make it a little bit difficult. That's not always ideal for the tenants. I'm really excited about this one because I think people are going to stay for the long term because it's going to be big enough for most families, and it's going to have everything that they need in-house, so they have less of a chance of needing to move to get some of those other amenities. So I'm really excited about that and how it's going to actually help reduce the turnover, and I think I'll be able to get great tenants in this place because it's been remodeled. It's had a lot of cosmetic updates. The kitchen's kind of just been touched up. It still does need a full remodel at some point. I'm probably not going to touch it for maybe 5 years or so. I'm just going to do some basic repairs on the property that need to be done. But that's it. This place is move-in ready. With a couple minor repairs, it's going to be a good rental unit on both sides for at least the next 5 to 10 years. All right, enough about that. Let's talk about the numbers. If you're anything like me, it all comes down to the numbers, right? I'm investing in real estate because 1, I want to build my retirement. 2, I want to build cash flow. And 3, I'm doing this for the money, right? I'm not just doing this because it's fun. I'm not, spending hours of my time to track down this deal and then manage it just because it's fun, right? I'm doing this for an actual result, and that comes down to the numbers that are involved. So the purchase price that I have on this property is at $385,000. I'm going to be doing 20% down, and I've secured a loan that is just 3.5% down, which is almost unheard of on these investment type loans. Now, the caveat to that is that this loan does have a 15-year balloon, so I am going to have to either sell the property or refinance it in 15 years. I don't see that as being an issue because my goal is that in 5 to 10 years, I'm gonna sell a bunch of these properties that are on the smaller end, these single family homes or duplexes, and I'm going to upgrade them into a larger apartment deal or possibly even into something that's commercial. So I'm not worried about having to refinance it or sell it in 15 years. I mean, that's a long ways down the road. I bought my very first place about 6 years ago now, and it seems like it was forever ago. So I've got 6 years back for that. Looking 15 years into the future, I'm not too worried about that. For a great interest rate, it's super worth it, and it's gonna help my cash on cash return numbers. The down payment on this place is going to be just over $77,000, but the cool thing is I'm actually pulling $50,000 from a HELOC that I have, a line of credit on another investment property, to make part of that down payment. So I'm going to have $50,000 from the HELOC, the other $27,000 or so is going to be coming from my pocket. This is a really great way to be able to get into a property with less money out of pocket. So you might be thinking, okay, well, what are the cash flow numbers, right? Well, I'm gonna have to make a $625 payment on the HELOC, and then the remaining cash flow is gonna go straight into my pocket. So by the time I factor in the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, and the HELOC payment of roughly $600, I'm gonna have a net monthly cash flow of just over $300 per month. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you take into account the fact that I'm only into this property $27,000 out of my own pocket, it actually equates to just over a 13.5% return. That's really not too bad. I aim for stuff that's at least 12%. 12% is my absolute bottom barrier. I would like to see that closer to 15% cash on cash return, but at 13.5% and only having to come out of pocket $27,000 in this crazy market is a dang good deal, and I'm happy for it. Now, I'm super happy with that 13.5% return. 12% is my absolute minimum when it comes to cash on cash return. I would like to see closer to 15% or even 18% if I could hit it, but at 13.5%, I'm pretty happy. Our market is on fire right now. Deals are ending up with multiple offers left and right, and to get this deal and still maintain a 13.5% cash on cash return with just $27,000 out of pocket is absolutely phenomenal, and it's a damn good deal, so I'm pretty happy about that. In addition to that, the cool thing is when I make those payments to the HELOC, that payment is actually going to adjust down. So the way that the HELOC is structured is the payment, the amount of that is actually based on what the balance is on the borrowed amount. So as I pay down that balance, my payment on the HELOC is actually going to go down. It'll go down to $600, then $550, then $500, then $450, $400, all the way down to $0 once it's paid off. So it's actually cool because my cash flow is going to increase every single month as I pay that off. And once it's fully paid off, I'm looking at a 14.5% cash on cash total return. So if I take the $305 net cash flow amount that I'm into the home and add back in what I'm paying on the HELOC of $625, that puts me at a rough monthly net cash flow of about $900. If I take that $900 a month, times it by 12, and then divide that by the $77,000 down payment, I'm actually sitting at about 14.5% cash on cash return. Once I get up to that $900 a month cash flow amount, that's more than enough to cover the payment on my Tesla, which is sitting right around $770. So guys, with that being said, we still have the appraisal that needs to be completed on the property. I'm a little bit concerned about that. I'm not sure if it's gonna come in at the purchase price. It might come in a little bit lower, but that's okay. We'll have to negotiate that later. So make sure to catch that in the next video. We've already negotiated $6,000 in closing costs. In the next video, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about how I did that and what the appraisal came in at, and hopefully we're gonna close out this deal and take it through to ownership. So with that being said, guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel, smash the like button for me if you liked this video and its content, and don't forget to comment down below on what you'd like to see more of, if you'd like to see more about the Model Y, investing in real estate, investing in duplexes, or anything else. I'd love to hear from you. With that being said, I'll catch you in the next one.